Sam was almost done with his shift. It was Friday evening, and the restaurant glowed with soft jazz, clinking glasses, and murmured conversations. The floor sparkled under the warm light, thanks to his steady mopping. He took pride in his work, even if no one noticed. He'd been a janitor at Le Lune Rouge for 3 years, long enough to recognize the regulars and predict the rush hours. Tonight, however, the crowd felt different, more elegant, more expectant. There were roses on every table, and the maitre d', a man who usually scowled at Sam for humming while he worked, was uncharacteristically cheerful. "Speed it up, Sam," the maitre d' said briskly, glancing around. "We've got a full house. And don't linger near table 7. VIP guests." Sam nodded, dragging the mop bucket toward the corner. He didn't mind being invisible, it was easier that way. People saw the uniform, not the person. He was wringing out his mop when a waiter brushed past him, holding a single red rosé. "You're the guy for the blind date, right?" the waiter asked without looking up. Sam frowned. No." But before he could say more, the maitre d' appeared, mistaking Sam's confusion for shyness. "Ah, monsieur, your table awaits. You're early. How rare these days." He pressed the rose into Sam's hand and gestured grandly toward a candlelit table near the window. Sam blinked at the flower, then at the elegant table set for 2. "Wait, I think. Go. She'll be here any minute," the maitre d' said, practically pushing him forward. Sam hesitated. Maybe there'd been a mistake. Maybe they were confusing him with some other guy. But curiosity tugged at him. What harm could come from sitting for a minute? He tucked the rose into his shirt pocket, wiped his palms on his janitor uniform, and sat down awkwardly. The tablecloth felt like silk. A waiter poured sparkling water into crystal glasses. Sam tried not to touch anything, his rough hands didn't belong here. Then the doors opened. Every head in the restaurant turned. A woman stepped inside, elegant, self-assured, her perfume catching the air like a secret. She scanned the room, her eyes landing on him. Sam froze. She smiled, and in that single moment, his world tilted. Maybe tonight, the janitor wouldn't stay invisible after all. The woman's name, though Sam didn't know it yet, was Evelyn Marks. She was the kind of woman who didn't need to announce her presence, the air simply adjusted to make room for her. Her heels clicked against the marble floor in a rhythm that made heads turn, and the maitre d' straightened his jacket as though royalty had just entered. Evelyn had been told her blind date would be humble but brilliant, someone outside her usual corporate circle. After years of polished boardroom banter and empty charm, she was intrigued. Tonight, she wanted authenticity. Something real. She glanced at her phone. 7:58. 2 minutes early. Her date wasn't supposed to arrive until 8. Then she spotted a man at the window table. A little awkward, hands folded on the tablecloth, a red rose poking from his shirt pocket like a shy badge of courage. He wasn't dressed for the occasion. His shirt was faded, his shoes scuffed, but there was something earnest about him. Something disarming. That must be him, she murmured, almost smiling at her own luck. Meanwhile, Sam was panicking. He'd only meant to sit for a moment, to rest his legs and maybe sneak a sip of the fancy water. But now she was walking toward him, the woman everyone was watching. He could hear his heartbeat louder than the jazz band. She stopped at his table. Her perfume was soft, clean, like jasmine after rain. "Hi," she said warmly. "I hope I'm not too late." Sam swallowed hard. "No. You're right on time." "Good," she said, sitting down gracefully. "I'm Evelyn." He almost said his full title, Sam, night janitor, but caught himself. Instead, he nodded and said simply, "Sam. Nice to meet you." A waiter appeared, handing her a menu and giving Sam an approving glance, as if the maitre d's plan had worked perfectly. Evelyn ordered a glass of Merlot. Sam nervously asked for water. "So, Sam," she began, swirling her wine. "Tell me about yourself." His mind went blank. Tell her what? That he spent his nights scrubbing floors and fixing leaky faucets. That his last real conversation had been with a vending machine. He smiled awkwardly. "Well, I like working with my hands." Her eyes lit up. "Oh, really? That's refreshing. Most people I meet only work with spreadsheets." He laughed softly. "Yeah, I guess I'm more into practical things. You know, fixing stuff that's broken." Evelyn tilted her head, watching him. There was no arrogance, no pretense. Just a man who meant what he said. And somehow, that honesty felt more attractive than all the perfect suits and rehearsed compliments she was used to. For the first time in months, she leaned back in her chair and relaxed. Outside, the city lights shimmered through the glass. Inside, amid silverware and candlelight, two worlds that never should have met began to quietly overlap. Neither of them realized yet that this mistaken date would change both their lives forever. For a while, they simply talked, and that in itself felt like something extraordinary. No small talk, no rehearsed lines. Just two people in the middle of an accidental evening that somehow made perfect sense. Evelyn found herself leaning forward, chin resting on her hand, studying the man across from her. Sam spoke with a kind of quiet honesty that most men of her world didn't possess. There was no agenda in his words, no attempt to impress her. He told stories the way people used to, like each one mattered. "So you really enjoy your job?" she asked, curiosity laced with disbelief. "Even though you're, well, cleaning up after everyone." Sam chuckled. "Yeah, it's not glamorous, but it's honest. You see things differently when you're the one mopping the floor after a big event. People drop their masks when they think no one's watching." Evelyn smiled. "I think you'd be surprised how often people wear masks even when they know they're being watched." He nodded, meeting her gaze. "Yeah, maybe. But you," he paused, embarrassed, "you don't seem like the type." She laughed, soft but genuine. "You think you can tell that from one dinner?" "I'm pretty good at spotting people," he said with a modest shrug. "When you spend your nights cleaning offices, you overhear a lot. You learn what kind of person throws their coffee cup on the floor, and what kind quietly leaves a thank you note on your cart." Her smile faltered just slightly. The simplicity of his world, its quiet integrity, hit her harder than she expected. She'd spent years surrounded by men who only valued her power, her company, her name. But here sat someone who didn't even realize who she was. "Tell me about you," Sam said, trying to turn the focus away from himself. Evelyn hesitated. "Me? Oh, I run a business. Nothing exciting." "What kind?" She smirked. "Let's just say, I'm more comfortable giving orders than following them." He laughed. "Ah, so you're the bossy type." "Something like that." She raised her glass, teasing. "And you, Sam, what's your dream? Surely you don't plan on cleaning floors forever." He thought for a moment, eyes distant. "I'd like to build something one day. Maybe a repair shop. Fix broken things, and maybe help people get back on their feet too." That answer lingered between them, warm and unguarded. The waiter came by to refill their glasses. Across the restaurant, the real date, Evelyn's intended blind match, a sleekly dressed CEO, was growing impatient, checking his watch, frowning toward their table. But Evelyn didn't notice. For the first time in years, she wasn't thinking about her company, her calendar, or her image. She was simply there, listening to a man who made her laugh, who made her feel human again. And when their hands brushed while reaching for the same napkin, a small, electric silence settled over the table, something fragile, unplanned, and utterly real. The night had ripened into something warm and unguarded. The restaurant had begun to thin out. Empty wine glasses, soft music fading into background hush, waiters clearing tables with quiet efficiency. Yet at the window, Evelyn and Sam lingered, caught in that rare and delicate space where time feels reluctant to move forward. Sam was telling her about his late mother, how she used to bake blueberry muffins every Sunday and say, "Clean hands, clean heart, Sammy." Evelyn listened, chin propped on her hand, a soft ache behind her smile. No one had called her by a nickname in years. "Your mom sounds wonderful," she said gently. "She was," he replied. "She didn't have much, but she gave me everything that mattered." Evelyn wanted to say something back, something personal, but she hesitated. Her life wasn't built on simple truths. It was built on deals, deadlines, and decisions that made headlines. Yet here she was, hiding behind half-truths with a janitor who made her forget all of that. Across the room, the maitre d' froze mid-step. The real blind date, Daniel Harrow, a sleek, Armani-clad CEO, was glaring at him from the bar. He pointed furiously toward Evelyn's table, mouthing, "That's my date." The maitre d's smile collapsed. He rushed toward Evelyn's table, whispering frantically, "Madame Marks, I must apologize. There's been a terrible mistake." Evelyn blinked, confused. "What are you talking about?" Sam's stomach dropped. Marks. The name echoed in his mind. He'd seen it before, on the shiny silver plaque of the corporate tower across the street. Marks Enterprises. The maitre d' continued, sweating. "You were meant to meet Mr. Harrow. Not," he turned toward Sam, horrified, "not him." The words hit like a slap. Conversations around them hushed. A few diners craned their necks, curious. Sam's face burned as he stood abruptly, the chair scraping the floor. I'm sorry," he stammered. "I shouldn't have sat here. I thought it was a mix-up, but I didn't mean to." Evelyn rose too, her expression unreadable. For a moment, she said nothing. The maitre d' looked between them helplessly, the CEO glaring from the bar like a storm waiting to break. Then Evelyn turned to Sam. Her voice was calm, but her eyes were bright. "You didn't do anything wrong, Sam." He shook his head, mortified. "You don't have to be nice. I'll just wait." She reached into her clutch, pulled out a card, and placed it gently in his calloused hand. "Evelyn Marks, CEO. Call me," she said with a faint, daring smile. "Unless you only fix broken sinks and not awkward misunderstandings." For a heartbeat, no one moved. Then she turned toward the maitre d'. "Cancel the other dinner," she said coolly. "I've already had mine." Gasps rippled through the room as she walked away, graceful, composed, her perfume trailing like a secret she'd chosen to leave behind. Sam stood there, the card trembling in his hand, heart pounding. He didn't fully understand what had just happened, only that something extraordinary had slipped into his ordinary life. Outside, the night air felt different, sharper, cleaner, filled with the dizzy scent of possibility. And as he walked home, mop handle tapping against his shoulder, the memory of her laughter followed him like a promise that maybe, just maybe, this blind date disaster wasn't an ending at all. It was the beginning of something he could never have dared to imagine.